So, good day everyone, this is May from BS Ed Filipino. You might be wondering why I'm talking about this test in test developers. Well, as a future teachers, you must know that developing tests is part of the job. And it is very crucial part for being a teacher, for this use to measure and manage the students' learning. That is why I am going to share to you the topic review of classroom of development process. Here we go. As I've mentioned a while ago that developing tests requires plenty of work and consideration because developing tests requires process. There are suggested phases of work in developing a test. Generally, consists of these procedural steps to ensure basic validity of the requirements.
Development of large-scale student assessment. Planning the classroom test. The main goal in classroom testing is to obtain a valid, reliable, and useful information concerning pupil achievement. This requires a series of steps to be followed. Here is the first step, determining the purpose of the study. There are two types of tests according to its purpose, and each has two subtopics. First is pre-testing. Example here is the readiness test, to determine a prerequisite skills needed for instruction, limited scope, and relatively low difficulty. Next is the mastery of planned instruction, similar to those measuring the outcome of instruction. B. During instruction. First is the formative. To monitor learning progress, this covers specific portion of instruction. So, this instruction, it determines the learning progress of the learners. It enables to identify if the learners truly understand the instruction. Next is the diagnostic. Testing for persisting learning difficulty. This requires a number of items in each specific area. So in this portion, it requires a number of items of question that needs to be answered by the learners because it allows to determine the mental capability of the learners. Next is the developing test specification or the test blueprint. The purpose is to make sure that a test will measure a representative sample of the task. This involves 1. Preparing a list of instructional objectives. This is limited to those outcomes that can be measured by a classroom test. It does not include performance skills or affective domain. So in this area, it focuses on the main objectives of the test or the blueprint because it allows or it measures the mental capacity of the learners through taking a test. Second was outlining the instructional content. Then third, preparing a two-way chart that relates the instructional content. The numbers could be used to indicate the number of items to relative weight given to the objective and or content area. Next is the stages of test construction. There are stages construction and it is used as a guide in making the test. First, what is the purpose of the test? Second, what are the objectives of the test? Third, how will the test specifications reflect both the purpose and the objectives? Fourth, how will the test item types or task be selected and the separate items arranged? In administering the test, what details should I attend to in order to help students achieve optimal performance? What kind of scoring, grading, or feedback is expected? Next is the review and revision for item improvement. There are two approaches that you can use through and accordance of its use. First is the judgmental approach, before and after administration of test, by the teachers or peers to ensure the accuracy and alignment of test content to learning outcomes, by the students to ensure comprehensibility of item and test instructions. So the second approach is the empirical approach. after administration of test. It is obtain items statistics of the form of quality indices. So those are the procedural tests of developing tests. Hopefully, the present course of assessment would bring about changes in the way you view test development as process in order for testing results to get maximized. Score-based inference on students' performance can only be appropriately done if the tests from which they are derived have been constructed properly.
Hello everyone, this is the continuation of our report. Before we go to the development process, let me ask you first a question. What do you see as common steps between developing classroom tests and a large-scale test? There are the three common steps in development of large-scale student assessment test. First steps is they both need a test framework. Why do we need the test framework? In order for specifying purpose of test, what are to be measured, to whom the test will be administered, what test format to use, and the length of test, and many more. The second step is they both need to prepare a test blueprint or table of specifications. Why do we need to prepare this? In order for them to specify the content and knowledge and skills to be covered and the number of items to be prepared for each learning outcome. And the last step is there is a need to review the items to ensure that the items measure intended outcomes, non-ambiguity of the problem, the plausibility of the destructors, and the correctness of the key option. And now, I will discuss the development process for large-scale tests. As you can see, we need first to create a framework, and after that, make a blueprint, and after making a blueprint, write a questions, and after you write the questions, we will move to a content review. There are 5 review. First is fairness review, second, editorial review, and stakeholders review, and files testing, and structural review, and the last is ready for use. Let's now proceed to the key steps in developing large-scale tests. Now, the process for developing large-scale tests is basically influenced by the standards for educational and psychological testing, which is developed by the American and Educational Research Association, the American Psychological Association, and National Council on Measurement in Education in 1981. Now, here are the key steps development of large-scale tests. Step 1 is defining objectives. First is who will take the test and for what purpose. Second, what skills and or knowledge are to be tested. Third, how should test takers be able to use their knowledge. Fifth, what kind of effort, what kind of questions should be included, and how many of each. Fifth, how long should the test be? And the last but not the least is how difficult should be the test be. Step 2 is the item development committees. First question is who will be defining test objectives and specifications? Second, who will be helping ensure test questions are unbiased? Third, who will be determining test formats? Example of these is multiple choice, essay, and constructed response. Number 4, who will be considering supplemental test materials? Step 3. Writing and reviewing questions. Item developers and reviewers must see to it that each item has only one correct answers among the options provided in the test. Because of the item has two or more answers, therefore the test is not reliable and not valid. Now, items developers and reviewers must be to see be see must to see it that each item conforms to the style and rules used throughout the test. Therefore, this is being said there should. There are the scoring guides for open-ended responses. Now, what are the examples of open-ended responses? The example for these are short, written answers, and oral responses. We'll move to step 4. Step 4 is the pretest. Items are pretested to a simple sample group similar to the population to be tested. Results should determine, first, if questions should be revised or eliminated. Step 5. Detecting and removing unfair questions. After presenting, test reviewers re-examine the items. First is what item further need revision or removal before final version is made. Second, after presenting test reviewers re-examine the items. Second question is, are there questions consistently performed better by a group than other groups? And the last, are there any test questions which have language, symbols, or words and phrases inappropriate or offensive in any subgroup of the population? Step 6 is assembling the test. After the test is assembled, item reviewers prepare a list of correct answers and are compared with existing answer keys. First is, are the intended answers indeed the correct answers? Now, this is the only questions to be asked or to be addressed in this step. Are intended answers indeed the correct answers? Step 7. Making sure that the test questions are functioning properly. After test administration, statisticians perform analysis of result to find out if test is working as intended.
So good day everyone. So I am Jaya Cabal. So for today, I will discuss about establishing validity of test. So first, what is validity? So validity, regarded as the basic requirements of every test. It refers to the degree to which a test measured and what is intended to be measured. So there are three types of conventional validity according to Anastasi and Urbana 1997. So first is content validity, criterion-related validity, and construct validity. Okay, let's move on to the first type of validity, which is content validity. So according to Rossiter 2008, content validity is defined as the degree to which elements of an instrument are relevant to a representative for the targeted construct for a particular assessment purpose. For educational tests, it is established for the selection of the outcomes to be included in the preparation of the test specifications. So, the example for content validity, if a test is designed to survey arithmetic skills at a third grade level, content validity indicates how well it represents the range of arithmetic operations possible at that level. So the second types of validity is the criterion-related validity. So there are two types of criterion-related validity, but first I will define what is criterion validity. So, criterion-related validity, it measures how well one measure predicts an outcome for another measure. It is also called concrete validity, which refers to the test correlation with a concrete outcome. A test has this type of validity. It is useful for predicting performance of behavior in another situation like past, present, or future. So the example for criterion-related validity, a job applicant takes a performance test driving the interview process. If this test accurately predicts how well the employee will perform on the job, the test is said to have criterion validity. So since there are two types of criterion-related validity, so let's move on to the first one, which is predictive validity. If the test accurately predicts what is supposed to predict. So for example, the SAT exhibit predictive validity for performance in college. It can also refer to when scores from the predictor measure are taken first and then the criterion data is collected later. So the second types of criterion-related validity is concurrent validity. So, concurrent validity when a predictor and criterion data are collected at the same time. It can also refer to when the test replaces another test. So, for example, a written driver's test replaces an in-person test with an instructor. So, we are now on the last types of conventional validity according to Anastasia and Urbana 1997, which is construct validity. So, construct validity involves empirical examination of the psychological construct hypothetically assumed to be measured by the test. It is established by doing a factor analysis of the test items to bring about what defines the overall construct. So, for example, a measurement of a human brain such as intelligence, level of emotion, proficiency, or ability. So that is all about establishing validity of tests. Thank you for listening.